Okay. So chapter 5, we left off, you left off last week with, the glory of the Lord departed from Israel, says, the wife of Phineas, the deceased, one of the sons of Eli, and she names this child that she gives birth to and apparently dies after childbirth, or during childbirth. She names the kid Ichabod, which is, glory is gone, the glory has disappeared, and it is short for representing, well, God left us, given everything that just happened and the loss of the war and the casualties. God clearly cannot still be here. And that's how we got to keep it in mind, Don't you, isn't it true? It doesn't matter how bad things may look. Who said God's God? Does she have the last word?
No.
Did God leave? No, we're going to turn the page. We're going to keep going. No, God's still there. But, it can feel like God's left. And, things may feel like that way in the United States. But the church has got to remember how God works in the past. And if He brings something here or allows some difficult times to come, it doesn't mean He's gone. The ease of American life maybe is gone. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. There's going to be a refining, there's going to be a remnant, etc. You know how that goes. But we go into 5 because, as you know, the glory of the Lord is departed. Well, part of her understanding that, same with her father, right? As soon as he heard the news, her father-in-law Eli, he went back in his chair. He's just literally his body he just responds to this terrible news. He throws his head back, but his weight goes back and he breaks his neck. And for both of them, it's like they both gave up their own ghost when they heard the ark was taken because of their understanding of the ark. God in the ark is synonymous. God's on the ark. He's kind of in the ark. He's over the ark. He's on that lid. It's his chair. And oh my goodness, the Philistines got God. The Philistines have God. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Nobody can take him like that. He's not the God in the box.
Yeah.
The proverbial,
Yeah.
Your God is too small, you keep God in the box. Doesn't happen that way. So, here it is, chapter 5. The Philistines are bearing this ark like a trophy of conquest. Right? They take it, watch, right into their temple of their chief god, Dagon. Okay? And somebody please read, give me verses 1 to 5.
After the Philistines had captured the Ark of God, they took it from Ebenezer to Ashdod. Then they carried the ark into Dagon's temple and set it beside Dagon. When the people of Ashdod rose early the next day, there was Dagon fallen on his face on the ground before the ark of the Lord. They took Dagon and put him back in his place. But the following morning when they rose, there was Dagon fallen on his face on the ground before the ark of the Lord. His head and hands had been broken off and were lying on the threshold. Only his body remained. That is why to this day neither the priests of Dagon nor any others who enter Dagon's temple at Ashdod step on the threshold.
I love it! Isn't that great?
Tore down the statue.
Oh, listen, this chapter is so fun. Oh, this is so fun. All right. So, they take the Ark of the Covenant to the temple of their principal god, the Philistines' principal god, Dagon. It's about 50 miles away from Shiloh, okay, where they've been hanging out, where the Ark was taken from. It's 50 miles away. The temple of Dagon, okay, what temple is this? I think it's a new one. They had to rebuild the old one that was actually in Gaza. What happened to that one? Think of the book of the Judges. temple to Dagon falling apart?
Was that Samson?
It's the one Samson was in. Remember that one? That's the scene in the temple of Dagon. 3,000 Philistines are gathered there, right? A whole bunch of the big balcony and everything. Samson, Lord God, give me a little more power. And, they're screaming, they're shouting. All their leaders are giving glory to Dagon. Historically, again, Dagon had the body of a fish and the head of a man. Remember, Gaza was a coastal city. And so they believed in a fish god. I mean, they got their living from the sea. They got their food primarily from the sea. They worshiped then the god of the sea. That was Dagon. So, and you Google Dagon, and you're going to find, these ancient images of this. Think of a mermaid, but a guy.
It's a merman.
It's a merman. Okay, pretty much that's it. Okay, so, at that time, the Philistines thought Samson's God was defeated, along with Samson, right? If they got Samson powerless, well, God must now be powerless. Somehow we got his God too, because his God can't give Samson power, so his God must be powerless. And so they think they've overpowered Samson and his God. They were wrong, and they're wrong again, thinking that capturing the ark meant they captured Yahweh, the God of the Jews. And so it said, as you just heard, they bring it to this other temple now. I think it's the new temple in a different city. And they put it at, your versions in English say, at the feet of Dagon. In Hebrew, it says tail. Because Dagon's a fish. It's a fish god. It's a tall man up here, fish down here, kind of little tail swab. It literally says, they put it at Dagon's tail. And the idea is, it's like, okay, our God is the picture of this God, and we put it at the feet, who we would say in our language, at the tail of Dagon. Of course, next morning, they walk in there, and Dagon's what? Flopping on the ground like a dead fish. Okay. Fish out of water. God takes his tail. Very good. So they do what? Okay, so it's all in one piece. That's key. They prop it back up, however big and heavy this thing was. Put it back up on the pedestal, arrange it, whatever. Put that around. Now, what do you think they're thinking? The wind blew it over?
Yeah.
I mean, really. The thing's never fallen over before. Imagine a very square, solid base. Maybe somebody came in here and pushed it over. I don't know what they're thinking. I don't know if they're thinking something mysterious. Did this ark do something? What happened here? I'm thinking they're probably just writing it off. Oh, it must have been something. Next morning, what happens? It's fallen over.
Now it's broken.
Now, how is it broken?
His head.
Okay, what does it say? So this time it's fallen over again. It's, as it was the day before, face down in front of the Ark of God. But this time its head is, and its hands are, what does it say? Broken off?
Yep.
Cut off.
This is broken.
The Hebrew is cut. I want you to think about that. Let me tell you why. It's not broken off. The term was cut off. It has an appearance of, it's not a shard, crumbly, jagged. No, it's cut off. Like you would, because what? The ancient Canaanite punishment for being a thief, as it is in Islamic countries today, is the cutting off of your hand. Capital punishment for your enemy is cutting off your head. Dagon's head and hands are cut off. What is God saying in that? Dagon is a thief.
And a liar.
He is the enemy of the God of the blacks. Okay? He's the enemy of Yahweh. He is a thief. He steals people's souls. And he's the enemy of God. So God goes, this is what you do with thieves, and this is what you do, Philistines, with the people you capture who are your thieves and your enemies. So here what I did. Whack, whack!
Eric pulled up images of Dagon, and most of them look pretty devilish.
Oh. Yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
looks like,
But do you see the fish body?
okay.
It's got scales. Yeah, very interesting. Okay. So, isn't that interesting? And I want to remind you, there's something else going on, and it's that Dagon is a belief system like every other false religion. It is empowered demonically. And so, Dagon was demonic, as they all are, all the idol worshippers and items worshipped in the ancient world and in the modern world.
No, there is no vacuum. If God's not there, the devil will be there. So,
Right?
you talk about Dagon
Good.
as if
Yeah.
he were a god.
Right?
You know, he's just a statue.
He's a statue.
You're talking about Satan.
Yes.
You're talking about here.
Good. See, good. So, and that's the thing. It's like God is there's a statement being made that don't know if they would have picked up on it, but we in hindsight look at it and go, God said, "I will have no competition," and He tells you, "You will have no other God besides me." And number 2, do not make any graven image. Don't worship any. I'm just like, that's big. 1 and 2. Okay? And God's commandments aren't just to the Jews. That's what He wants for the world, if they know it or not, if they've received the 10 commandments or not. There ain't no other God. Don't have them. Don't make one. And I love it that this happens here.
Well, it's quite interesting too that, the way that they found Dagon was he had fallen on his face before the ark.
Yeah, and that's, I'm glad you said that, because given we weren't there, I could use my imagination and say, well, if the guy's standing like this, and the ark's in front of him, well, either that thing, the base was backed up and poof, or maybe, I don't know, maybe it was just somewhere else in the room, but falling down, face down in front of him. But I kind of go, was there room for it to fall? I don't know, that's what I'm thinking.
Well, usually when, in the Bible and stuff, when somebody is worshiping the Lord, they fall on their face or their knees.
Absolutely. Yeah, the symbol is, it bows before me, yeah. Absolutely. So, the last verse 5, what it tells you is that the priests of Dagon were so embarrassed over the incident, they refused to ever set foot on that scene. Even at the time that this was written, which was years later. Okay? Somebody read, this is great, verse 6. Just 6.
But the hand of the Lord was heavy on the people as Ashdod, whatever that word is, and He ravaged them and struck them with tumors?
Tumors.
Whatever that word, okay, tumors. Both Ashdod and its territory.
Okay, so this is what's fun. Ashdod, okay, it's where the temple is of Dagon. They still have the ark. And because it's still there, it says God then struck the Philistines with, your English says what?
Tumors.
Tumors. Do you want to know what the Hebrew says?
Yeah.
The Hebrew actually, I kid you not, large, okay, and the Hebrew word is ophel. That's the word, the Hebrew word for growths in the rectal area, tumors in the area. Today we'd call it a really bad case of hemorrhoids. God has got a sense of humor.
Yes, he does.
I kid you not. That is the English or Hebrew equivalent of hemorrhoids. A really, really bad case.
Case of hemorrhoids.
I just want you to think about that. That's hilarious to me.
And no preparation date.
Listen, look it up. Listen, if you don't believe, yeah, and ain't no preparation back in that day. I mean, that's all I gotta say, okay? So, somebody 7 to 12. This gets fun.
And when the men of Ashdod saw how it was, they said, the ark of the God of Israel must not remain with us, for his hand is harsh toward us, and Dagon our God. Therefore they sent and gathered to themselves all the lords of the Philistines, and said, what shall we do with the ark of the Lord of Israel? And they answered, let the ark of the God of Israel be carried away to Gath. So they carried the ark of the God of Israel away. So it was, after they had carried it away, that the hand of the Lord was against the city with a very great destruction. He struck the men of the city, both small and great, and tumors broke out on them. Therefore they sent the ark of God to Ekron. So it was that the ark of God came to Ekron, that the Ekronites cried out, saying, they have brought the ark of the God of Israel to us to kill us and our people. So they sent and gathered together all the lords of the Philistines and said, send away the ark of the God of Israel and let it go back to its own place so that it does not kill us and our people. For there was a deadly destruction throughout all the city. The hand of God was very heavy there. And the men who did not die were stricken with the tumors, and the cry of the city went up to heaven.
Okay, this is so funny. So the ark is like a hot potato. You remember the old game, hot potato?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what they're doing with the ark. And they're going to pitch it to the next town. Okay, here, because maybe there's a correlation here between what's happening to us and this thing. So they decide, let's give it to Gath. See what Gath will do with it. Gath thinks it can handle it, but they get these God-given hemorrhoids. And I'm going to tell you this. I kid you not. I'm not exaggerating. Look it up if you got Bible helps. Look it up. It is hemorrhoids, ancient hemorrhoids. If God gives you a case of hemorrhoids, what kind of hemorrhoids are they?
Maybe bad ones.
I'm just telling you, the misery and I'm just telling you, you ain't sitting, you're not comfortable, it's just bad news. It cracks me up. And so Gath takes it. Gath, all of a sudden, everybody comes down. Everybody's coming down with the itchy, how do you deal with this? Okay, whatever. And then what happens is they go, let's pitch it to somebody else. Let's just give it to the people in Ekron. They don't even ask. They literally drop it off. Here, you handle it. And what happens is that they start to experience a plague of death. And the people that didn't die got hemorrhoids. And then they cry up to heaven. And so they're crying out to the God of the ark. That's what it's saying. So they go, well, we're going to pray to the guy because obviously, well, just please stop. We're dying here. It's killing us. And
So when they all come together for worship, everybody lays down on their side.
right? Oh my goodness, it's just the funniest thing. So what's inferred, and you're about to find out why it says that people are dying in Ekron because of the plague. You're going to find out what has brought the plague, because it's one of those things. You read a little further on, then you make the connection. So chapter 6 now. Somebody please read the first 6 verses.
When the ark of the Lord had been in Philistine territory 7 months, the Philistines called for the priests and the diviners and said, what shall we do with the ark of the Lord? Tell us how we should send it back to its place. They answered, if you return the ark of the God of Israel, do not send it away empty, but by all means send a guilt offering to him. Then you will be healed, and you will know why his hand has not been lifted from you. The Philistines asked, what guilt offering should we send him? They replied, 5 gold tumors and 5 gold rats, according to the numbers of the Philistine rulers, because the same plague has struck both you and your rulers. Make models of the tumors and of the rats that are destroying the country, and pay honor to Israel's God. Perhaps he will lift his hand from you and your gods and your land. Why do you harden your hearts as the Egyptians and Pharaoh did when he treated them harshly? Did they not send the Israelites out so they could go on their way? So there you have it.
Did you go?
That
Good.
was 6.
Go to 9.
Okay. Now then, get it
Oh, wait.
hard.
No, stop. Okay, let me comment on that. So it's 7 months, 7 miserable months of hemorrhoids. They are handing off his heart to each other. Now I just want you to think about it. Not just dwell on this because you're probably going, okay, enough of this. But I want you, it's obviously important to God that it would be in the Word of God. And it's important that He would use us. But imagine having a God-given case of hemorrhoids for 7 months. You're just going, what do we do here? And they call the priests and the diviners, the spiritual leaders. What do we do? What do we do? And they say, give it back! Return this thing, right? But send a guilt offering along with it because, it's something that would imply, we're sorry, please stop punishing us. And the guilt offering is out of gold. Somebody's got to craft 5 golden hemorrhoid things and 5 golden mice. Because it's the place, you get it. There's the rats, or the mice, whatever it is, are devouring the crops, and they're carrying, disease. And whatever they're carrying, God sent it in there, and so people are dying from that. So they go, okay, so let's do this, and out of gold, give it back to put in the box. Okay, Yahweh, God of the Jews, would you accept this? Please forgive us. And then it's very interesting. The priests and the diviners, they say, why should you be stubborn and insist on hanging on to it and continue to suffer the consequences? Did you catch that? That's pretty much what they said. And they know their Jewish history. They know something that happened centuries earlier. Everybody knows about it. And it's this. They said, we don't want to be like Pharaoh. They go, do you want to be like Pharaoh, the Egyptians? That hardened their hearts, right? And they paid heavy prices until they finally let the Hebrew people go. And when they left, things returned to normal. And, and this is what's interesting. He said, God made fools of them. And without saying it, they just said, do you want God to make a fool of you too? We don't want to be like them. We don't want God to make fools of us. Send the thing back. Don't have a heart, well, we're going to keep it. And people do that. Pharaoh did that. You heard me? God, I'm going to still keep your people. I mean, that's human nature. I'm just going, I can take more. Bring it. I'll take whatever you got. And then at one point you finally go, oh my gosh, I give up. And hopefully you swallow your pride and you say, okay, it's all yours.
And they're offering sacrifices now to the God of Israel. By giving, they're sacrificing their gold in whatever shapes as a guilt offering. So now they're almost beginning to worship the God because they're afraid of him.
Yeah, it's right. That's good. It's very interesting. They want to appease the God of the Jews, and it's like they believe in it. Mm-hmm. They believe in God.
They certainly believe in His power.
Yeah, they believe in God's power. They're not going to surrender themselves to it and be ongoing worshipers, but for the moment they're going, okay, there's power on your side.
Your God's bigger than my God.
Your God's bigger than my God. Amen. Okay, I love it. So, something they were pointing out was that the Ark, to them, in their day, and the Hebrew people back in Egypt's day under Pharaoh are synonymous, right? Let go of it, the Ark, like you let go of the Hebrew people, and the suffering will stop. That was their reasoning. Hey, that was good counsel.
Yeah.
It was the right thing to do. Verses 7 to 12, some of that.
Now then, get a new cart ready with 2 cows that have calved and never been yoked. Hitch the cows to the cart, but take their calves away and pin them up. Take the ark of the Lord and put it on the cart, and in a chest beside it, put the gold objects you were sending back to him as a guilt offering. Send it on its way, but keep watching it. If it goes up to its own territory toward Beth Shemesh, then the Lord has brought this great disaster on us. But if it does not, then we will know that it was not his hand that struck us, and that it happened to us by chance. So they did this. They took 2 such cows and hitched them to the cart and penned up their calves. They placed the ark of the Lord on the cart along with the chest containing gold rats and the models of the tumors. Then the cows went straight toward Beth Shemesh, keeping on the road and lowing all the way. They did not turn to the right or to the left. The rulers of the Philistines followed them as far as the border of Beth Shemesh.
So, the ark is supposed to what? Be sent on a brand new driverless cart. Put it in the flatbed and put some what to it? What's pulling it?
Angry cows that have their calves taken away.
Okay, so a couple of cows, they're milch cows, they're cows that they got calves that aren't weaned. Take them away, and then what?
If they turn one way, it's not God.
If they go home, if they take the cart back where it belongs, they'll know that that was God. And if the cows do what's natural,
They turn back to the calves.
which would be turned back to the calves, I mean, there's no way those cows, under their own power, would leave their babies.
Right.
Bingo. So isn't this interesting? They say, okay, and we're to follow it. We're just going to beat it just as behind, and we're going to follow and watch them go. And like homing pigeons, these cows go into Israel's land.
Bellowing all the way.
Yep, bellowing the whole way. You imagine them going, okay, if they come, stay back with calves, then we're just going to write up all these afflictions to chance. Otherwise, we know that this God gets the credit for this. We're going to say this God indeed caused our affliction. All right. Okay, 9 to 8. I think we can keep going. 13, somebody read. 13 to, chapter 7, verse 1.
Now the people of Beth Shemesh were harvesting their wheat in the valley, and when they looked up and saw the ark, they rejoiced at the sight. The cart came to the field of Joshua of Beth Shemesh, and there it stopped beside a large rock. The people chopped up the wood of the cart and sacrificed the cows as a burnt offering to the Lord. The Levites took down the ark of the Lord, together with the chest containing the gold objects, and placed them on the large rock. On that day, the people of Beth Shemesh offered burnt offerings and made sacrifices to the Lord. The 5 rulers of the Philistines saw all this and then returned that same day to Ekron. These are the gold tumors the Philistines sent as a guilt offering to the Lord, 1 each for Ashdod, Gaza, Ashkelon, Gath, and Ekron. And the number of the gold rats was according to the number of Philistine towns belonging to the 5 rulers, the fortified towns with their country villages. The large rock on which they set the ark of the Lord is a witness to this day in the field of Joshua of Beth Shemesh. But God struck down some of the men of Beth Shemesh, putting 70 of them to death because they had looked into the ark of the Lord. The people mourned because of the heavy blow the Lord had dealt them, and the men of Beth Shemesh asked, "Who can stand in the presence of the Lord, this holy God? To whom will the ark go up from here?" Then they sent messengers to the people of Kiriath-jearim, saying, "The Philistines have returned the ark of the Lord. Come down and take it up to your place." So the men of Kiriath-jearim came and took up the ark of the Lord. They took it to Abinadab's house on the hill and consecrated Eleazar, his son, to guard the ark of the Lord.
All right. So the Israelites who first see this thing coming back into town, oh, it's the ark! The ark's coming back! I mean, how bizarre. But it's just kind of coming back into town, these two cows. I mean, explain that.
How's it bringing it?
But, you know, that's kind of weird, freaky, but wow, this is great, okay? And they're so excited about it, what do?
Open it.
They opened it up and looked inside.
Before that,
Oh,
They burned the
well, they
card.
had
They
a
got
sacrifice.
yeah, let's have a barbecue. And so they go, yeah, we have a burger feed, the ark's back. And so they take the wood from the cart, turn that into firewood, you know, to put the bosons and the sacrifice, or the cows, sacrifice cows, so burn offering to the Lord. Okay. All right. So, you know,
And how are you gonna move it?
yeah, good. Yeah. So, you know, but and here's the problem. Then what happens is that, unfortunately, people from Beth Shemesh, they don't just get excited about the return of the ark and offer sacrifices. They decided to look inside of it. What was the problem there? They're not supposed to touch it. Why?
Not Levites.
They're not Levites. So, some versions say, how many people died?
Mine say 50,070.
Ah, okay, yours is translated from the Masoretic text. So, like I've said, there's ancient texts that your Bible translation team used with which to translate from the originals, or at least the oldest manuscripts available, into your English translation that you have. The Masoretic text says 50,000 plus,
70.
right?
Yeah,
50,000 twice, 70, okay. So, holy cow. Don't know what number it is.
No. The note in my Bible says that it was probably a copyist mistake because they left out the conjunction.
So, could be that. I mean, either way, some people died. Here's the point of it. They opened the lid to look what's in it. That's not what you do, because God is really serious about only the Levite can touch the thing, get near it. Even the Levites don't even touch it. I mean, you put holes through it, and there's these rings, and you carry it. But, I mean, even they need to stay at a distance. And why? Why would God drop a whole bunch of people dead like that?
They were supposed to know better, weren't they?
What's God trying to get across?
Their sin, their unbelief before
Does it confuse you a bit? Where you go, you know, they're just happy the ark's back. They just innocently, maybe, we're going to look what's in it. You know, to make sure the stuff's in it that's supposed to be in it. You know, that didn't matter to God, apparently. His rule still applies. Be excited about the ark, but don't do something that is not yours to do. And you know, again, God's had it up to here. We've gone through the time of the judges. We looked through all that, and it's like y'all blew it. Y'all let the ark be taken away. You lost it. You were casual with me. Because I told you, you build that thing, that's my seat. Between the cherubim that I asked you to do, the golden cherubim, I'm sitting there. And you keep me in this temple. That's my house. You're going to come deal with me there. That's why I'm going to talk to you through a priest and a prophet. You let me get stolen. You fought a fight. I didn't tell you to fight, blah, 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 blah. I mean, you just think the whole thing. I think God is saying, you are too casual. Not to mention, I've been 7 months in Philistine territory. Y'all didn't come and get me. Right, but you know what I'm saying? Because he is saying, in effect, nobody's dropping dead until the ark showed up. And they touched the ark. God, even though we know God is not limited to the box, the ark. And the Philistines in the ancient world and the Canaanites believe that, again, an object, a god is bound to the object, like I've said before, like a genie to a lamp. Right? And that's why they captured the ark. And I think you talked about that last Sunday, I'm sure, okay? Or last Wednesday. They thought when they got the ark, they got the lamp, the genie, Yahweh's in the box, in the lamp. So it's going to now do whatever we tell it to do. And God, interestingly enough, because this is what God does, he goes, we're going to go with that. Because God said, this is my chair. This is where I'm at. Don't be touching my seat. I am here still. When you get close to the ark and you touch that, you are coming close to me and you are filthy. You're sinful. There's been where was the sin sacrifice? The sacrifice of the bulls, was that for the cows? Was that for sin? He goes, and the Levites do that. See, God's got an order of things, but I think what he is saying very clearly in this is, you were careless with me. You didn't come get me. And the thing that I told you, because again, it's God saying, he made the rules. He goes, it's my box, it's my chair. And he goes with that narrative, even the one they believe, because God meets you halfway. Okay? The ark is important. God says to build it, put the 10 Commandments in it. It's the mercy seat. I'll be redundant if I keep saying more about it, but I think God has got it, he's had it up to here. Because even in the symbolism of it, it's the symbolism. We know better. We know God is not constrained to a box, the ark. We know God is all places all at once. The Jews have an understanding of that already. They really did. They had an understanding of that at the time. Nonetheless, God goes, because this is how God does it. He goes, this is the system. It's called the Old Covenant. Certain things belong in a certain room, a certain building called the temple, because I said so. It's a replica of my house in heaven. I got a throne in heaven. I want a replica of some sort of that on earth. I got cherubim in heaven. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty. I got a replica of that right there on the top of this ark. In the ark is my word, my written word to you. Does this matter to you? Does it matter when it's been taken away? Because this is how we're doing things. I've got a sacrificial system. That's how it is. Even though God is all places all at once, he goes, if you want to get close to me, something's got to die. I need to see blood. Then I'll be appeased. We can have a conversation. But the priest has to do that. It's a certain person's job because I said so. Stop messing with the rules. Stop doing what's not yours to do. Stop being casual with me. And for crying out loud, if you ever find that the glory of God has departed, fix it. Get right with me, America.
Yeah. Amen.
Amazing. So when you look at the people dropping dead, if it's 50 or 70 or 50,000 plus, you know, nonetheless, this is what I think God is communicating. Sorry, Mike, was I too intense right there?
No,
Good, all right? Because I'm, it is what.
it's real.
All right?